sleepless nights I lay awake thinking about the future while you lay in bed.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm your host Jordan Kurtz. I'm right here with a special guest, one of my favorite people in the world right here, Mr. Austin Osmosis Jones. Thank you very much for hopping on tonight.
Yep,
man.
anytime. It's been a pleasure. It's nice to see the new office and everything. Seeing you do big things, it's really great to see. So excited to update everyone and get a good talk in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been a little bit since we've sat down on the podcast itself. Obviously, around each other a lot in that regard. But thank you so much, like I say, for taking the time and just for all of your support and love all along the way for the Peanut Gallery project. It's definitely not something that would be possible to be where we're at right now without somebody like yourself. So thank you.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
So Austin, just real quick, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at Osmosis Jones MMA on Instagram. That's my main platform there. So give me a follow. You can see all my stories, my updates, fights, and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, what about any sponsors, management, anybody else that you want to throw out?
Yep. I'd like to thank my manager Jim Walter for supporting me in my fights. Phantom Fireworks, Receptra, Denver Chiropractic, Jamie Atlas, On It, and Atypical Designs Culture.
Atypical.
There we go, right
culture.
there.
Thank you very much for the shout out and the love there. Also want to shout out ASTR Sports. Thank you, Jimmy, for everything that you've done for me all along the way. Got a great team and everything going on over there. So a quick little shout out from our end. Just want to say we are in the summer season, even though today it is absolutely freezing here in Colorado. But do want to say this episode is brought to you by Colorado Native Company, so if you are in need at all for any sort of HVAC servicing, make sure that you give Colorado Native Company a call at 303-218-7788. Ask for Robbie, let him know that the Peanut Gallery sent you. They're going to take care of you just like family. So without further ado, let's dive into things, my man. So you had a great fight at the St. Patty's Beatdown in Nebraska a few weeks ago when we were out there. That was a fun trip.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, well, the trip there wasn't necessarily the most fun.
Yeah.
But the trip overall was fun. So just to let you know out there what we're talking about as far as this goes, Austin was finishing up weight cut on the ride out there. So if anybody has ever been around during that time, sometimes you got to cut those last couple of pounds on the way to where you're fighting.
Yeah. It was a good 4-hour drive, sitting, full blast heat, just in the ride. And it's probably, the hardest way to cut weight, to be honest. The car's in motion, you feel a little nauseous. And there's a couple of times I fell asleep, but the heat just kept waking me up. And, every now and then we'd roll down the window and, after about 5 minutes, we'd roll it back up and just be burning up the whole time. So it's like sitting in the sauna in motion all the way to Nebraska. So
Yeah.
But it's one of those things the closer you get, the more you're like, all right, I gotta get this weight off. I've came this far, I'm not gonna stop cutting weight. So keep on going till the weight's off.
I feel like we've kind of grown an extra special bond through these last couple of fights. Obviously, I'm not going through the full cut that way, but I've spent a lot of time with you during cut, weight cut and all that. So that's just extra layers to the relationship on that side of things. The time in the sauna, wrapping you up in towels, going to and from weight cuts, all that sort of stuff. So it's a pleasure to be a part of the journey.
For sure, and no one ever wants to cut weight by themselves, and music is what really helps me with my weight cuts, and we have the same taste in music, and we like some good tracks with some good lyrics, so that definitely helps me get through it. I can't just sit in silence and cut weight. It drives me crazy. So exactly, and you have someone you can talk to, and they're there to push you. They're not going to enable you with the weight cut. They're gonna be hard on you when they need to be, and that's what you need, because your mind's going to play these tricks on you when you're cutting weight. You start second guessing why you're even doing the sport in the first place. Like, why am I cutting weight? This is stupid. But once you get that weight off and you weigh in, you get to eat finally. It's like now all you have to do is focus on the fight. So that's always good.
Surf and turf, baby.
Yep, every time. Yep, got to get that in.
Except for the Nebraska fight.
Oh,
because
man.
We somehow ended up at
somebody
diner.
voted to go to a diner.
All due respect to the owners of the diner or whatever, but that nighttime staff My waffle was more like a fucking waffle cone. That shit was a hockey puck, bro. You could straight up snap that thing.
Yeah.
There was no
and then
flexibility.
They didn't bring syrup. They didn't bring syrup out.
Nothing.
Like what?
We were at a steakhouse and decided to leave. Thanks,
I was very
Nate.
upset. Yeah, Nate.
But yeah, of course, Nate would be the reason.
Yeah, it was
There you go.
disappointing.
Shout out to the Savage King, Nate Smith. But yeah, so we ended up, instead of going to the steakhouse, we ended up at some, I don't even know the name, something. But I did discover a Nebraska hidden gem on that trip. Dorothy Lynch.
Yep, the Dorothy Lynch. Yeah, people put on their steaks, salads, you name it. I've seen people put on their salmon. It's actually really good salad dressing. If you like a little more of a tangy, sweet taste, so.
Yeah, just a little bit of something.
No, I mean, they have them here.
A
Just people
splash.
just tend to walk right past them, because no one's ever really heard of Dorothy Lynch. So.
I mean, I'll be honest. As soon as I went to the grocery store, like I saw it there, but it was just a thing of never really paying attention or knowing what it was. So never had it until we were out there. So.
And then Anthony's like, you never heard of Dorothy Lynch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony's homegrown Nebraska guy, so anyone from there knows what Dorothy Lynch is. And it was funny every time we do our home games at Nebraska for football, and we'd have our pregame meal, and Dorothy Lynch would be sitting there. So, and all the the in-state players would be chowing down on it.
Makes total sense there. Shout out to Lionheart too as well. Hope you're healing up well there, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the hand can't be feeling the greatest, but how gangster was that when he landed that body shot in the second round after breaking his head?
Oh man, yeah.
Like,
crazy.
That's a bad dude right there.
And it just goes to show, the amount of experience he has. He can fight through those type of things. You see a lot of guys, they'll buckle down and just fall apart after that. And Anthony's that type of guy. He's gonna fight from start to finish, regardless of what the circumstance is. And the biggest edge that he has is that people count him out, and I can relate to him a lot in that respect as well. So.
One thing with that was Anthony's quote that, this to me just adds to the legend of Coach Mark Montoya, or the folklore that surrounds Coach. But when he comes back to him in between rounds and tells him that his hand's broken, Coach says, "All right, well I guess we're throwing elbows then."
Yeah, it's that mindset. It's the some guys will be like, my hand's broken, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, but Anthony's like, I'm gonna find a way, and that's really that's the essence of fighting, because things aren't always gonna go your way. You might even be way better than the guy, and you're gonna face some adversity in the cage even before you step in there. So it's really just improvising, going to the next step, and it's pure chaos, and all you can really do is respond. If you react, we got issues, but if you respond, now your mind's in the right place, because a reaction could be anything, but response is what's going on, and here's my answer for this. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. For lack of a better term or phrase to it, if you will, how much of an impact or how much of a benefit do you feel that it is to all of you guys as athletes that Coach himself is such a gangster, if you will? I mean that he's in here every single day, that he's training, he's rolling, he's in, with striking practices, cage sessions, all of that. Because I mean, there's a very high profile example of a very similar circumstance that happened this last year alone with Anthony Pettis and Duke Rufus. And when Anthony told Duke that his hand was broken, Duke said, well, I mean, if your hand's broken, I can't put you back out there. And it's no disrespect to Duke by any means. I absolutely love Duke Rufus, don't get me wrong. I mean, and he was an incredible competitor himself. But, I mean, Coach Mark is just a little bit of a different breed.
Right.
Like, that's why I love
exactly.
Coach. Like, that's why I absolutely fucking love the man. Is because something like that is like, all right, well, fuck it. Your hand's broken. You've got another hand, and we're throwing elbows.
Exactly, and the fight's not over till it's over. The worst thing you can do is let someone else decide, that the fight's over. Mark just doesn't think that way. He's like, yeah, your hand's broken, but so what? And that's just that mindset of just being relentless. You don't need, if you lose a hand in a fight, you still have another one. You still have your legs. You still have a lot of other things, like Anthony said, the elbows. So it's just kind of one of those things he says, let go of the excuses and the results will show, and that showed in the fight, Usually guys will break right there, but it's the fact that you don't break which creates that opening for you. So I think any fighter that is trying to get to the next level can learn from Anthony, can learn from a lot of guys that we train here, and it's just you're seeing it at the highest level, and I do believe Anthony's going to hold that belt, and we'll have some other people following suit. So
there's a lot of people that are chipping away and that are very much so on the cusp of being in that title contention talks. I mean, Ian being one of them directly. And I know that you and Ian train together a lot. We have a lot of sessions together in that mix. So, a large part of the success that he's seeing, a large part of the success that Anthony's seeing, is in part due to you being a good training partner. I mean, sometimes it sucks that some days you're the hammer, some days you're the nail. And the profile video, I know that sometimes the guys have a little bit of fun with it and all that when when you're the one that's getting rolled when you're going with Anthony or something like that, those profile videos. But at the end of the day, you're still the one who's giving him that look. He's winning fights because he's getting quality looks in practice. I mean, obviously, it's him that's in there, but you're only as good as what you're getting in practice.
Exactly, and the thing is, if you're constantly just destroying everybody in the gym, especially in your own weight class, it's time to look somewhere else and get some challenging rounds. And literally, since I've been here, I haven't had that issue. There's always somebody in there that's going to test you. There's so many different styles, just within my own weight class. We have wrestlers, we have strikers, we got jiu-jitsu guys, so. Every week to me is like a fight week, and I love that. And, the guys that are, at the highest level, I'm always getting put in there with them. I truly believe Coach Mark is doing that for a reason. So I've gotten a lesson every Friday, and, I don't always win the round. So it keeps me honest, and I think a lot of people on the team could say the same thing. So it's good to fail in here because, that's gonna prepare you for your fight. So I just kind of take it day by day, and I'm just learning from the guys that are just staying humble, and they're not really tied into the whole UFC glamour and all that stuff. They're just burying their heads and going to work, and it's showing. I think we're seeing almost too much antics in the UFC now, and I think people are eating that up. And I get that you got to sell fights and everything, but at the end of the day, your skill has to still show, and you can see the difference. And one thing I've really done, just when I don't have a fight coming up, I try to take the focus off myself and just see how everyone else is preparing for their fight. And you can almost tell who's going to win their fight, based on their demeanor and how they're handling things. So emotions tell a lot. So you can actually learn a lot about yourself by watching other fighters. And it sounds weird, but it's the body language. And when you see the results, you're like, for example, Anthony, his last fight was just quiet, just going to work constantly. You just come in, do his work, get in, get out. There's not a whole lot of small talk with him. I was like, he's doing something. He's got something up his sleeve. And when you're just quiet and you just go to work and you bury your head, no one can really figure you out. And I think that's where he won the fight before he even stepped in there.
Oh yeah, I could see that. That's something that's very much so on the controllables. You always talk about controlling what you can control, and not worrying about the other stuff, taking it, one fight at a time. That's always kind of been your mantra since we've met, for over the course of the last year and a half around there. So, it's working. It's working,
right?
Man. So,
and it's funny too, because even the guys that you're seeing at the highest level, they're super entertaining, but they're actually putting in the work and they're actually backing up what they say. When you meet them in person, they're totally different. They're super reserved, super humble. I think people mistake, the glamour of the fight show for, oh, that's really how this guy is. And if they're that good, they don't really say much. They kind of keep everything to themselves, and they're actually going to work their knuckle draggers. So that's just how the elite level is.
So let me ask you this then, because that brings up a very time-sensitive point for someone who is very much a showman. He's a thoroughbred. He's an elite world-class talent that came through here last week. the Motown phenom Kevin Lee. You know, obviously someone who has a louder, boisterous personality. What was the temperature like in the room with him here this last week? You mentioned getting the opportunity to go with some of these guys. You did have the opportunity to get some time in with Kevin on the mats. What was that like, and what was those sort of interactions like? Because you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of times that personality that you see put out there isn't necessarily who you see behind the camera.
Exactly, and you know, like and honestly, it's acting. You know, you need to be somewhat of an actor when you step into that UFC scene. You got to get into character, from what I'm learning, and you know, just training with Kevin. Like, I think he'd be an awesome addition to the team. So I hope he joins. But it's almost like when you roll with those type of guys, they're elite. They're trying to learn something from you, and they want to show you something too. You know, so it's a different level of respect, and you only learn from those guys. It seems like every time I've gone with one of those top 5 guys, you know, they're there for a reason, and it's all about how they train and how they treat people. So he seemed like really good guys so far. So hopefully he comes back and gets some work with us. So.
Well, I mean, iron sharpens iron. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You know, we've already touched on the topic of, you know, when your training partners are at that much of a higher level of skill caliber, you know, just mental acumen about the game, it's only going to propel everybody that's around. So, you know, I think that being said, that would be a great addition to the team.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, I think that it's been crazy to see just in this last little recent time how many big names, you know, or names at that top level have came here searching for a home. Like, that's got it for someone like you who's been here calling Factory X your home for years. It's got to be a pretty, you know, humbling feeling, you know, or a comforting feeling knowing that the work that you've put in here, not only as an athlete but also as a coach, has helped make this a destination gym that's out there. A gym, no less, that is up for Gym of the Year.
Oh, yeah, and, like, for sure, like, you know, starting out, like, you know, coach asked me to start running jiu-jitsu and started holding pads for, you know, the team. And honestly, it was probably more scary than taking a fight, to be honest. I'm like, because now, you know, we have our curriculum and, like, we have a culture here. And honestly, it kind of frightened me at first, but it also changed my career. Because, you know, anyone could look good, you know, sparring and hitting pads and everything, but, like, can you hold pads? Can you teach jiu-jitsu? Can you teach people? Every day I get a new student. I got to teach them brand new technique. And it's a mental challenge, but it takes the focus off me again, like I said. But I also gain something from it because I'm learning on my own, and I'm learning from my students as well. Even if they don't know anything, I'm learning something about them, tendencies that, you know, certain mistakes or certain things they do well is also. So it's just, I think training with MMA, it's all about your training partners. It's like an even exchange, you know. It doesn't matter what level they're at. You can take something from everybody. And just having that open mind really just prepares you for, you know, your competitions and everything. I still do, you know, jiu-jitsu tournaments on the side, just to, you know, get that experience. So I'm always just staying a student of the game.
You did Fight to Win a few weeks ago, correct?
Yep.
And you brought home silver?
Yeah, 2 silvers. Definitely going to get the gold next time. I don't get to do as many Fight to Win tournaments. It always seems like I have a fight coming up at that time. But, you know, if it's the right timing, I'll take that tournament. So I recommend it to guys that even haven't taken their first MMA fight, you know, because get used to that competition, shake those nerves. Don't even worry about the outcome, you know. Go in there, get some rolls in, get tapped out, tap some people out, because you're going at a different pace. It's full go, so you get to know what that feels like. And it definitely shows in the cage when you take your first fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Seth Daniels puts on a pretty good show.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
those
He takes care
fights
of everybody, and I think, you know, he's really changed the jiu-jitsu game here, just by growing it, putting on shows. You don't really get that in a lot of places, so.
It's a solid spectacle for a grappling.
Oh, yeah.
That side of things, you know.
Then when you get your purple belt, you know, you could have a chance to make some money, you know, Fight to Win Pro. So I've done that as well before. So it was a lot of fun. Good experience, because then it's like you're on a stage. Right. That's the closest thing you can get before you take an MMA fight, I would say. That has grappling and, you know, such like that. So
So you said that you've got some stuff that you have on your chest that you want to get off.
Yeah, I think I'm just ready for that next level. I think 1 or 2 fights from now, I'm gonna get that finish. I think I'm just ready. I think I'm ready to take that #1 spot in Colorado. Move on to the next regional scene, possibly an LFA belt, and just keep moving forward. I just know I'm ready. That's what it really comes down to. Just my perseverance that I had to go through, the adversity that I had to work through, really just prepared me, and I'm just ready to get it. So,
is there any names on a list that you're looking to cross off?
whoever comes my way, I don't think about a name. I'm just ready to get after it. Whoever comes up, I'll be ready for him. So, and it's really I really don't focus on the opponent as much. I'm always focused on what I'm gonna do in there and just be better than I was last time. So, but other than that, like if someone wants to come after me, that's fine. Every Friday I'm getting challenged by somebody. So, I want to see as many fights as possible.
No, that's understandable. There, we're at the midway point of the year, or goddamn, it's already at the end of June basically. So we're starting the backstretch of the year very much so. But 5 months essentially left in the year. How many more fights are you looking to have on the books by the end of the year? What's the game plan?
About two more wins. That'll get me to 10-4. That's better than some records in the UFC, which kind of bothers me. But one day at a time, it'll show.
Speak your mind, Mr. Jones. Open up, shit. Don't hold back. Let him know.
I know.
Let him know.
Right, you're right. Put it on him.
You want that shot.
Exactly. Let me get that Contender Series shot. First one that drops off, somebody's going to back out, I'm sure. So I'm just staying ready. My weight's nice and low. I'm staying ready. I'm in shape. You guys want to finish, you'll get one. Promise you that.
Come on, man. Yes. Say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest. No, but my last 4 fights were decisions, but they're all really tough guys. My last 2 fights were against brown belts. I smashed those guys. One was a Golden Gloves champ, so it's not like I'm fighting slouches, So, but if I have to fight another tough guy, I will finish him.
Dude, the last fight was one of my favorite moments in a fight that I've seen in a long time. And granted, I'm maybe partially biased just because you're my boy, but right then and there, so. Let me paint the picture for everybody that's just listening out there who hasn't seen it online or anything. So Austin is in close guard or close guard with his opponent. He's in top position and he's raining down ground and pound. But it gets to short time. The clacker hits at about the 10-second mark, and you just hear. Just this fucking primal screaming yell.
Death roar.
And Austin just postures up from out of there and just starts raining down like Rampage style, like Hulk slam, like when Hulk slamming fucking Loki in the Avengers sort of shit. Just boom.
And the dude was just tough, man. Like he had this giant chin, and I was just hitting it nonstop and he just wouldn't go out. So kudos to him, but I think a few more rounds I finish him. But no excuses, I'm gonna get the finish next fight, so it doesn't really matter. I just feel way more free in there. Doing a lot of things just outside of the gym that's gonna help with more of my athleticism. So opening up my hips and shoulders. So I'm just gonna go in there prepared. It doesn't really matter.
I can't wait to see you back in action. I know that you wanted some time off after the last fight after being in so many consecutive camps. Just having a couple
nonstop,
of weeks to just kind of get your breath. Do you feel like you're ready to jump back into camp now at this point?
For sure, and one thing that I got to make sure I do is just reassess my goals, because when I started off when I was 3-4, I sat in the office with Mark and he's like, "Here's what we need. We need to get you to 8-4 by next year," like literally about a year ago, and I went ahead and did it, and I think that's really what it comes down to as well. Don't forget your goals, even if your goal is one fight at a time, which it has been. So it keeps paying off, So I don't know, I'm excited.
Let me ask you another question here, because I always get something from you that's of quality, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Really good book. I've read just about all his books except for this one and The Laws of Human Nature. This one's really good because he ties back into like the art of war. He mentions that a lot. Talks about Napoleon, a bunch of different great war leaders, and just the strategies they used, and it's totally goes along with MMA as well because every opponent's different, every fight's different, and I'll probably end up doing 33 fights anyways, and I'll probably at some point hit every strategy at some point. So sometimes you need to be aggressive, and sometimes you don't, and it kind of talks about that and knowing who you're up against, know who you're dealing with. So there's all types of fighters that'll try to beat you psychologically, and it's not just about aggression. Like there's some fighters that want to get in your head by being nice, believe it or not, and it's just all about just being in the zone, So
I've got to say that probably the favorite recommendation I've gotten from you is Relentless.
oh yeah, I've gone through that book about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I absolutely love Relentless. I've gone through it. I mean, in depth, the entire thing once through, but then I've gone back and revisited chapters here and there from. Just an incredible book for you. It's by Tim Grover. For anyone who's interested in checking that out, it is 100% on my recommendation list. It's just something that will share insight from one of the best trainers out there in the world who has trained some of the most elite athletes in the world. And more so, a large portion of what the premise of what that book is there's a lot of people who have the physical tools, but it's a matter of the mental tools. It's being relentless with your forward pursuit.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just being yourself. I think that's what really draws the UFC and really draws the crowd. When you're really trying to like get people's attention, people can see it's not real. But like when you're just doing your thing and you're being yourself, that to me is what being relentless is, because you accept yourself 100%, the good and the bad, and now you're just going forward. I think we try too hard to be perfect. We try too hard or to be bad, and it's really just we're good and bad, and we just got to accept that. And once you accept that, you're on that nice little axis, and you're just kind of flowing, and nothing seems to bother you at that point. And it's really just living inside of you. So, God, there's a quote. I don't feel like quoting, but it says happiness is an inside job, and I think that goes along with your sport too. Your relentlessness, your ability to fight the way you want to is an inside job. It's not about the external. It's not about the money you're gonna make in this fight. It's not about the belt. It's about that journey. When you step out of that cage, is that gonna be a fight that you want to remember? So once you do that, everything seems to work out. Whether you win or lose, there's always that next step. So don't even focus on the outcome. Focus on how you're feeling in there, and you'll know if this is really about what you're really about. You can fight through that pain when you accept who you are and push through. Nothing seems to get in your way.
Oh yeah, the power of the mind is so incredible. And it's been, I think, something that is very noteworthy for you and where your career has gone, that you've placed such a heavy emphasis on this sort of mental training. Part of what, we didn't mention it earlier, but part of some of the stuff that we've done while, sitting in the sun, while even in your most like depleted, fucked up brain moments, no water, no anything along those lines, we're still talking through visualizations. We were sitting on the car ride in the middle of, who the fuck knows where in Nebraska, and I'm just like, talk me through what do you see, and you're just okay. I'm walking in. You're visualizing everything. You're telling me about what you're seeing the entire time from walking in all the way through when you're wanting to get your hand raised. I think that there's value to that. Maybe that's just me, and that I'm a hyper analytical freak, and my monkey brain never shuts off. But if you see yourself doing it or going through it, then it's almost like you've been there before once it actually materializes.
And it's all imagination and visualization is just you daydreaming. Dreams are real. You got to really pay attention to them, listen to them. It's just seeing it. If you can make your dreams a reality, there's really no difference between the two. You feel pain when you're in your dreams. You feel pleasure, all types of things. So it's no different when you're awake. So if you can tap into that with your mind, I've done it so many times too. Things just happen. And honestly, during the fight, you're having a conversation with yourself. Either you're gonna talk bad to yourself, or you're gonna talk good things. If I'm in a bad position, what do I need to do to get there? That's all in the preparation at the gym. So when you're underprepared, you tend to say things that won't help you. Oh, what if I get knocked out? Oh, this guy's strong. That means you're underprepared. You're gonna feel that no matter what. You're gonna feel him hit you hard. You're gonna feel that person apply his pressure. It's a fight. Everyone's tough, but it's all about how you respond. Like I said.
Pretty crazy that you said that, because that's almost exactly what I had a great chat with Hellboy Hubert earlier, and he talked kind of exactly to that. Actually,
yeah, that's funny you say that, because we were actually having a conversation a few weekends ago, and I was like, Hubert, do you still feel like the nerves and everything, or do you still think about the crowd at all? And he's like, nah, I haven't felt that in several fights out in years. He's like, just wait until you feel what I felt before I go out there and fight, and you'll be unstoppable. And I was like, I can't wait, because literally he was saying, like, when you step in the locker room and you're getting ready, nothing seems to matter at all. You're just in the zone, 100%. Nothing bothers you. You're just ready to go, and that's the key. You win that fight before you step in there, for sure.
And that's a man with more than 50 fights. Speaking from experience,
we got a few guys like that. We got Steve Seiler, we got Anthony, tons of fights, and you just sit down and don't even talk about fighting with those guys. Sometimes Dustin, sometimes just sit down there and talk to them. You'd be surprised what you learn just from their experience. Fighting does teach you a lot of things.
I really got a lot out of Chris's "Why I Fight" speech. Everyone's has been great, minus Pedro's. But, we're working on it.
We're working on it.
We're getting better there. But
we'll get 3 words next time.
But yeah. But no, I really loved Chris's, because that's someone who he's fought in the UFC 20 times. He's went through an entire Glory contract, picking up 3 or 4 with Glory. Has fought all over the world. Fights tonight or competes tonight on Rise Invitational and Professional Jiu-Jitsu against Gian Vellante. That's a guy who has literally been there and done it all.
And it's crazy too. Like, hungry. I remember watching Chris and Court McGee. That was the first Ultimate Fighter season I watched, I believe, and it's crazy to see myself training with them as well. I'm like, it's just that perseverance. The way those guys fight and the way they've just been constantly going, they don't feel like they're done, and that's just goes to show. People always ask, like, what about when you think your fight career will be over? And I look at guys like that, and it's like, it's not over until you say it's over.
Right.
So
that's you take care encouraging. Of yourself. You
fight a lot, a long time.
You're a smart dude. You figure out things strategically. You don't wear a whole ton of punishment. Also at the same time, you're not going out and getting in knockdown, drag out wars every single time to where you're wearing a lot of shots. It's not to say that you can't fight later on in your career that way, or anybody who's trying to tell you otherwise. If anyone wants an example of that, look at Diego. That man is still a savage.
Still going, yeah.
But season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. Season 1.
Crazy. Still
and he
going.
Arguably looks younger than he did about 5 years ago. Now.
I know.
He just talks about how he's placing emphasis on, he calls himself an anti-aging expert. But, within that, it's more so he's became a recovery expert. So you can call it the woo-woo, whatever, he's really into the spiritual side with like the crystals and all that sort of shit, which, whether or not that works, who knows? There's probably something to the metaphysical energy of some whatever. I'm not anywhere near well educated enough in the background of that to have a solid opinion on it. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But there has to be something said for someone like him who, who if he's followed all those same principles all along, that wasn't an act when he's out there, just stretching all the time, going through breathing exercises, doing all those things.
And a lot of it, I think, is just the consistency. He's been doing it. That's part of his regimen. Like, you got to stick with it, especially things outside of the gym. Like, honestly, I think that's the best thing for you because if you're constantly training, you're just doing MMA and all this stuff, like, you burn yourself out. You got to do something outside of your realm that challenges you. So, whether it's swimming, triathlons, some yoga, doing something. It doesn't have to be anything that, like, wears your body out, but that little extra challenge definitely puts you over the edge, because other people just aren't doing it.
A little challenge, and then also something to give your mind some stimulus. To give you a little bit of a change of pace.
Right.
I know that it's something that is a great change of pace for with your coaching side of things for the Broncos that come in, they get to that train here. That's a good change of pace for them. That it gives them a different look from football training all day to come here with that. You want to talk about that a little bit, or what an opportunity that's been?
Oh yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. Just working with Vaughn, Alexander Johnson, Derek Wolf, those guys, super cool guys. This goes back to saying, when you meet someone, they're super reserved. They're just like everyone else. Especially, local fans will be like, oh, NFL players, they gas them up, and they're just like everyone else. They're just like us. They're here just trying to make an honest living, feed their family, and they all have a sense of humor, so it's a lot of fun, and we all just support each other, so it's cool. And it's just like I'm used to hanging out with football guys, it's we already had that level of chemistry, so it's a lot of fun, man. And like
as you were when you were playing football.
Oh man, I was 215.
Those hits.
Yeah, I was 215 back then.
Yeah.
Now I'm walking around like 184.
Yeah, so I'm sure not having as much mass on the body, wearing some of those shots on the pads.
Oh yeah.
Probably has little extra state.
Yeah. No, and it's just crazy. Like, you teach those guys how to fight, it's pretty scary.
Okay.
So.
I mean, that's just next level athletes, in that regard, when you're talking size and everything incorporated and all
together. Yep, they can sprint, they can do all that. I
mean, because bro, when you think of it this way, a DB is 200 pounds on the small side of things a lot of times, or around in that ballpark. Yep. If you're a think receivers, they're like someone like Demarius. He's a heavyweight.
I know, it's crazy. Some are 230.
Like he's 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, he's a heavyweight. Cortland Sutton, he's a heavyweight.
And that reach too, can you imagine?
Yeah, those guys are heavyweights, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference. They're the small guys on a football field, but they'd be on the large side.
Exactly.
Here, and so that's why then when you see.
It's funny, when I first started training too. Like, everyone thought I was huge, and I was like, I was the smallest dude on the team. Yeah, back in Nebraska.
Right. Well, I mean, you had guys like Ndamukong Suh and all that too at the same time on the team. So,
Oh yeah, I've been tackled by him a few times.
Yeah, there's
more than a few.
Definitely some big bodies.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But like I say, just seeing alone, like, I mean, granted, there's a different the technique isn't the same as watching some of you guys who are pros and specialists at snapping off that hook, or when you're coming through and you're bringing that check over, not looping it, turning it right over. Obviously there's going to be some of those things, but when you see the force or the power alone with some of it, it's like Jesus, like he didn't even have like any sort of technique or like latent rounds, like not that it wasn't technique, it was just tired technique, but even still, like, that arm couldn't make flyweight.
I know.
We were making the joke with, Raw Dog was making the joke with Derek yesterday, with Derek Wolf, and he's like, yeah, bro, I don't think your arm could make flyweight.
Right. The arm alone missed weight.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So, I mean, big guys like that who just come in here and throw thunder, it's awesome to see. Menelik Watson, too, he's not with the Broncos anymore, but he's another one, man, like, if he ever transitions and can get to 265,
scary.
Right,
I wouldn't be surprised. You can see a lot of these ex-NFL guys. I mean, the heavyweight division needs more guys anyways. So,
do you ever see them expanding the where that weight class threshold is?
Maybe a super heavyweight division. I could see something like that.
Super heavyweight with the UFC, within that. I just
there's really not that many guys that have to cut for heavyweight nowadays.
It's a share, because because there's not
Speed
many
kills
people,
too. Yeah.
Well, there's not people. Let's address the elephant in the room. There's with the USADA and all that. There's not people as geared up that way. Your Mark Coleman's of the world. Your Chemo Leopoldos, Ken Shamrocks, those guys who were juiced to the tits. That doesn't exist anymore. But it's something that though if you do start seeing, and now that as the sport continues to grow and its popularity continues to go along. Maybe some of those athletes who would have been a go into football or a basketball or something like that start leaning more toward going to MMA, because it's no disrespect to MMA fighters out there by any means, but if there was a weight class out there that would be able to support it, Shaq's fucking a lot of people up.
Yeah. Oh God.
Or like someone who has the supreme athleticism like a LeBron James, somebody like that who is just that physically gifted. Granted, we're not.
And the main thing
sort of
you
mental
got to
aspect or whatever. That's the ultimate equalizer. But when you're talking just in share, that many more big bodies coming toward the sport this direction, that's more so what I'm aiming. Because there might be a lot of them who don't pan out, but you maybe have those couple who do, who are that big, who are that fast, who are that strong, and are just a different breed.
Right.
Who are just a true thoroughbred in that regard, who have that same sort of championship mentality that all the guys who have made it and been great champions are. But they are that 6'8", 290 pounds ripped to the bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They are that sort of big person.
If you could bring that fighter out of them, it'd be scary.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or like I say, like I just always thought, like, man, like granted, it was against a smaller corner, but like when Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan went at it, and he just basically pretty much like he had him in a clinch, and he just ragdolled him to the ground with it, and just came with just fucking overhands, like Thor hammers.
Right.
So you start having like and even at that, not necessarily giants by any means, like big NBA size guys, but more so those guys who are in that 220 to 250 pound range, because that is a large sector of bigger athletes out there.
Right.
So if there's more that start coming this way, I don't know. I think that may be something that they have to look at, or implement something in between that light heavyweight and that heavyweight limit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that better or more weight classes is a better thing, personally.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what
Yeah.
your thought is.
Hopefully they get that 65 division. That'd be sweet.
If they go 65, what direction do you think that you would go? Because obviously they're most likely, if they bring in a 65, 70's most likely bump into 75.
Yeah, I'd go 65.
You'd go 65s? Take the extra 5?
No.
Because there's some guys where it's, it's a, well...
Some of these guys are huge, man, at 70.
Like
some of these guys should be fighting at 205.
Right.
So.
Right. Because you're thicker, but you're not as tall as some guys that can get down to 70. So that's where I was curious on that end of things. Because, some guys I see walking around, like, bro, like, how do you get to that?
Yeah.
Or, like they were just talking, and even, granted, it's a bigger weight, but, Gian. And for the jiu-jitsu weigh-ins tonight with him and Kamo, like Gian usually fights at 205 and he weighed in close to like 240.
It's crazy,
right?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and just the fluctuation that way. I gotta ask you, what's your prediction for UFC 241? Who do you see in the rematch, Stipe or DC?
I got Stipe.
Stipe.
Yep. Got to root for Stipe.
Stipe.
I think I think that I thought he was arguably winning the last fight. He just got caught. I think the fight was actually at least close. So I think if Stipe uses his range more, stays out of that dirty boxing range, doesn't have to wrestle him, just keep it on the feet, I think he beats him.
I like Stipe in the rematch too, and I would agree with that analysis. I think that he was winning in that first one, and he just again he got caught. But that is a tip of the cap. Hats off to DC for having
Can never
the
count
fight
him
IQ.
out. Yep.
He's arguably got one of the best fight IQs in the game. Because for just putting it on the table for what it is, he's never lost to anybody not named John Jones. He's never lost at heavyweight. I don't know if he's ever lost a round for that matter to anybody not named John Jones.
Yep.
So that's that's a tough one in that regard. especially when he comes out and says like, hey, I saw that on film. You know, we had that broken down, you know, a while back, that sometimes coming out of being tied up, he tends to drop the hand.
Mm-hmm. Bam. There
You
it
know,
is.
what was that first little bit, him just kind of lulling him there through? You know, there's all those questions that you ask.
I think you just, you know, you see it on film and you just train it. Then it just happens. There's no, you can't quite catch it and see it necessarily in a fight, but it's there because you've been training it.
I'm so happy
It's
that
instinct, you know.
Stipe got the rematch.
Oh,
you know,
it should have been
because-
long before that, you know.
Yeah, I absolutely love Stipe.
Mm-hmm.
I love Stipe Miocic. You know, I mean, you don't how they haven't ran with his story.
Oh, I know.
Building his star power.
But it's too humble, you know. It seems like.
Yeah, but you know, thing is you have a great American heavyweight. You know, you had a dude who was the champion, who was the most dominant UFC heavyweight champion in history. Today is still the most dominant, and just happened to have his reign unfortunately ended short that way. But that's a man who is also a hero. Mm-hmm. He's saving lives.
Yeah.
He is still a firefighter. He's still doing it. He's a blue-collar dude who played college baseball as well, America's pastime.
Right.
So you can't play to any one of these storylines if you're the UFC's PR and marketing department to make this man a household name, because outside of real MMA fans that way, if you were to say his name, there's unfortunately not a lot of people who would recognize Stipe.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Or would think that Stipe is, you know, I mean, it's the Joey Diaz effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would think that he's un-American.
Yeah.
Because his name doesn't sound like it, but no, he's American born and bred. He's born in the heart of the USA in Ohio. The man literally is saving lives out there when he is not training and fighting. You can't market that. You can't make this man be known. I feel like.
Well, you know, it's the good thing is he's gonna have this opportunity to do it. So.
Right.
And I think it's gonna be very, very, very flashy, awesome knockout.
I still like, and especially like that's a bad dude. He went down into Brazil, and that's where he beat Verdum, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Beat Verdum in Brazil, and then I'll never forget. Didn't say anything about himself first.
Yeah.
Like that's how awesome Stipe is though too. At the same time, because I mean, you know, people will always give the Cavs credit for bringing a world championship to Cleveland first. But fuck you, Stipe Miocic brought a world championship there first.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, Stipe right away when we want Cleveland, we got a world champ. I'm the world champ.
The MGK and everything.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, you know, we got to fight back. Sorry, I tried to talk in the Stipe voice in the super loud and raspy voice, and it got me choked up for a second. But yeah, you know, then he got to go back home at the Q and got to fight there and got to defend.
Yep.
So that was awesome, you know. I love Stipe, and how the fuck they can't sell him, I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
But yeah. You know, Austin, we've been chatting here for a second. Is there anything that we haven't hit that you wanted to make sure that everybody knows, or a message that you wanted to get out there for the listeners and or promoters, anybody?
Yeah, just be on the lookout for me. You know, I'm an underdog typically in my fights, but I'm ready to put on some good shows. Since March, you know, I've really been putting in that work, so it's really about to show this time, for sure.
I can't wait to see how everything continues to develop and progress for you, my man. You know, thank you very much for coming on here and chatting away with us. We are the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yep, anytime.
Sleepless nights I lay awake thinking about the future while you lay in bed.